While Republicans in the House are pushing to change the tax code to help millionaires and billionaires, Democratic lawmakers are pushing the opposite. In fact, you have lawmakers in 7 different states across the United States, including California, Connecticut, Illinois, Hawaii, Maryland, New York, and Washington, are actually teaming up to introduce bills to tax the rich, specifically a wealth tax. According to a report in the Washington Post, got an early look at the text of the coming legislation. They said that some of the state bills are resembling the wealth tax that Senator Elizabeth Warren had pitched during her 2020 presidential candidacy. Hey, wealth tax. Well, now we're talking. Now, Jake Johnson of Common Dreams quotes the Washington Post here, saying in 4 states, the 3 that drafted the bills with economist Emmanuel Saez's involvement, along with Illinois, lawmakers say they will float versions of a tax on wealthy people's holdings, or so-called mark-to-market taxes on unrealized capital gains. So, again, there's a lot of very wealthy people that make a lot of money off or have a lot of wealth in unrealized capital gains. And so this would, again, be a great way to raise revenue from that for the government. Now, the Post also reported on Tuesday that Connecticut, Hawaii, Maryland, and New York lawmakers are proposing a change based on some Democrats' frustration with national tax policy. The federal government taxes capital gains, the income that a person makes from selling stock or similar asset, at a separate rate from other income. The highest earners pay a 20% tax on these gains, while paying a 37% tax on wages, a disparity that some Democrats would like to close. If federal rates on capital gains are lower, state rates on capital gains should be higher, these lawmakers argue. And look, that seems logical. It makes sense. There's more. The slate bill is set to be introduced on Thursday also includes proposed changes to state-level estate taxes, including a Maryland plan to lower the exemption cutoff from the current level of $5 million to $1 million. So, look, their logic is, if the federal government's not going to tax the rich, then we will. Hey, it makes sense. Now, on the estate tax, remember, if something that you inherit is worth $1 million or more, in this case, you're likely, again, going to be able to afford the taxes if you inherit that estate. Generally. Now, that said, an analysis released on Tuesday by the Patriotic Millionaires and other progressive advocacy groups found that there was nearly 1.5 million individuals in the U.S. worth actually more than $5 million. Interesting. Their total wealth is actually equal to, get this, $28.2 trillion. This also includes 64,500 individuals with 50 million or more, with combined wealth of 12.5 trillion and 728 billionaires. The report also notes that for every $100 of wealth created in the United States over the past decade, 37.4 has gone to the top 1%, while the bottom 50% has received only $2. So understand that there is a gigantic wealth disparity in this country. You have, again, rich people taking pretty much all the gains, the vast majority of the gains. And look, I don't think they do the vast majority of the work here in this country. Now, the groups estimated, and this is important, that a federal wealth tax of just 2% on millionaires and wealth over $5 million, 3% with wealth above $50 million, and 5% on billionaires would raise an estimated $583.5 billion every year, enough revenue to increase education spending by 47.3%. So, yeah, that's a lot of money. And by the way, education in this country massively defunded as a result of the right wing. This would be a boon. And again, look at the numbers. 5% on billionaires. Just a 5% tax That's it. 2% on millionaires, over $5 million. Now, this does not, and I got to repeat, this does not touch average working people, average Americans, because average Americans don't have a net worth of over $5 million. Very important. Now, the Republicans, their messaging on taxes is, oh, they're raising taxes on you. They're coming after you. You're making $30,000 a year and they're going to tax you to oblivion. No, this is where we're going to tax. Millionaires and millionaires. That's it. That's what we want to do. That's what we're trying to do. Because they don't pay their fair share. Because they've carved out loopholes and exceptions. They bribe politicians, like all the Republicans and a significant number of Democrats, to at least, not raise their taxes. Certainly for Republicans to continue to cut them. So, now that said, on a tweet on Wednesday, Warren wrote that the majority of Americans agree it's time for a wealth tax on the ultra-rich. And again, I agree with that. States are stepping up to make billionaires pay their fair share, and it's time for Congress to take action too. And so what's really interesting here is some of the progressive things that states have actually been able to do. Remember, Congress, the federal government, has not raised the minimum wage. It's still $7.25. But you've seen in states, even red states, especially when you have the ballot initiatives, people voting in favor of raising the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour. That's amazing. So, look, if the federal government is not going to do this because it is corrupt, then you're going to have state governments that do this. And especially, again, if you have these ballot initiatives, ballot measures that are signed, by the people. Because it turns out that across the political spectrum, Americans know, the people know, that the rich are getting away with not paying their fair share. All right, so now, let me give you some more details. The state lawmakers' wealth tax campaign was coordinated by 6Action, an arm of the State Innovation Exchange and the State Revenue Alliance. In a press release on Wednesday, the coalition said the new initiative demonstrates that state legislatures are leading the charge in enacting transformational policies on key issues of the day, including tax justice, particularly in light of a split Congress. Now, this stands in contrast to what Republicans are doing. Because Republicans in the House of Representatives specifically just came out with their own tax plan, and it's really bad. Ooh. Now, in fact, as researchers at the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy wrote on Tuesday, 1/3 of the 41 states with income taxes have opted for a flat rate, a regressive tax structure that guarantees that wealthy families' total state and local tax bill will be a lower share of their income than what that paid by families of more modest means. And Republicans in the House, so that was the state Republicans, are pushing legislation that would abolish the IRS and replace all federal income taxes with a national consumption tax, which again affects me and you far more than it would a billionaire. Because it takes a higher percentage of our income when we buy things. And by the way, also disastrous for the economy because we're a consumer-based economy, meaning we buy things. The more things that we buy, i.e. consume, the higher our taxes are going to be. Well, what's that going to do for jobs? It's going to destroy them. But also that wealthy people can pay less of a percentage of their income. So, in fact, let's see. I think the Washington Post is quoted here. No, I'm sorry. Americans for Tax Fairness said this, quote, "The bill is a tax cut for the wealthy and a tax hike on working people. MAGA Republicans don't have the power to make this law now, but they're playing the long game for a tax code that tilts even more in favor of the rich and corporations. Their far-right tactics show us that their attacks on working people won't stop. They'll only get more aggressive." It's true. It's true. And so, look, That's what Republicans are doing, trying to push for these even more extreme giveaways for rich people. Hey, when they tell you who they are, when they show you who they are, when it comes to policy positions, again, actions speak louder than words. And as far as as much as they posture saying, "Oh, we're friends of the poor, we're friends of the working class, working people," these actions should prove otherwise.